appearance on Dion's Daily Dose does not imply endorsement from or by any candidate or guest. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed by Dion Bergeron or Dion's Daily Dose are his own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of any guest. Material and information presented is for general information purposes only. The Dion's Daily Dose name in all forms and abbreviations are the property of its owners, and its use does not imply endorsement of or opposition to any specific organization, product, or service. If you'd like to support the show, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Dion's Daily Dose.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Dion's Daily Dose, where I just talked to you about me, about what's going on, and we just chat. Feel free to join me live anytime, 7 p.m. Central Time on my Facebook, Dion for Congress, my Twitter, Dion for Congress, or my YouTube, Dion for Congress. Welcome to everyone joining me tonight. We're going to talk about the interesting things that have been going on today. So we've had President Trump that did his daily briefing, and during the briefing, he actually mentioned that he is going to announce an investigation of the WHO. Let me share this here. All right, Chris. He actually announced that he is going to defund the WHO. What does this mean, right? We have the scary headlines when you put Trump defund WHO into Google. Trump threatened to defend WHO. That could leave another global initiative under China's, I assume, power. Look, what he's saying, and public health officials plead with Trump not to defund the WHO. Look, what it comes down to is Donald Trump, what he said is, this organization has always had China's interests at heart. They have said over and over again that China is basically where their loyalty lies, right? So if that's the case, right, then why are we spending so much money to an organization that does not have our interests at heart? It goes back to what he said with NATO, what he said earlier with other organizations, the World Trade Organization he's mentioned several times. I have to agree with the man. At least on this, we're looking at an organization that downplayed the seriousness of the current pandemic that we're facing, and did so for a very long time. They actually said that Trump was wrong to shut down the borders to stop people from China in coming here. Chris says, same with the UN and NATO. Yes, they do not represent our interests at all. As a matter of fact, the United Nations, in many ways, has been shown to be directly counter to the interests of the United States of America. We've had several instances where the UN actually kind of wanted to take over. We have training camps here. We have an interesting article that I didn't have time to dig up, but they were actually hiring in New York for UN people. Let's just leave it at that. You should be able to Google it and find it. It's an interesting read. So, as my title says, right, one of the things that Trump said during yesterday's news conference update was how the president has broad powers, very broad powers during a state of emergency, especially a state of emergency where all 50 states have declared. Now, I've dug up a little bit of information on this. I'm going to share it with you. Again, I haven't had enough time to really do this as much as I'd like to. I'm not, a press guy, but first of all, we'll start here with reason.com. This was 4/12, so a couple days ago. The title of the article is Trump Has Secret Emergency Powers. Presidential emergency action documents concocted under prior administrations purport to give him such authority, according to a New York Times op-ed. Now, again, it's really important to remember that this is under prior administrations. This is nothing that Trump has done himself. This is something that is a holdover, right? You can read it yourself. I will link it in the comments, as I always do. But it says here, in a chilling op-ed in the New York Times, Brennan Center legal scholars Elizabeth Goitein and Andrew Boyle suggest that Trump's statement could be referring to the secret powers that previous presidents have granted themselves in, quote, presidential emergency action documents. As Goitein and Boyle, Goitein, I don't know how you say it, and Boyle explain, these documents consist of draft proclamations, executive orders, and proposals for legislation that can be quickly deployed to assert broad presidential authority in a range of worst-case scenarios. These include suspension of habeas corpus by the president, not by Congress, as assigned in the Constitution, detention of United States citizens who are suspected of being, quote, subversives, warrantless searches and seizures, and the imposition of martial law. Now, that basically means that we might lose the vast majority of our constitutional protections if so deemed necessary. Now, there is more. Let me get this posted in the comments, so when you get a chance, if you so desire, you can read that article. It is interesting, but doesn't go into a lot of detail. It's actually kind of short. The next article that I think is really interesting, let me get this copied for you, and I will share again. Okay. This is the article they were actually referring to, which is from the Brennan Center, right? And we'll go back up here. It's called A Guide to Emergency Powers and Their Use. The 136 statutory powers that may become available to the president upon declaration of a national emergency. Let's see here. Let me give you this one. There we go. Now, this one is much, much longer and dives into it much more. You can download the report. It was actually published December 5th of 2018, was last updated September 4th of 2019. But what it essentially does, it identifies, as it says in the title, 123 statutory powers, right? This is the emergency framework statutes. I'm not going to get into a whole bunch of it. I just wanted to show you. But this is interesting, and it's one thing that I think more people should really take a look at. Statutes available upon declaration of a national emergency, right? Red, no restrictions on president's power to invoke during a national emergency. If you click on that, it shows you all of the things that have no restriction. The president, look at this. And this is what I want to make absolutely clear. This is not Donald Trump. Right? This is not Trump himself is, on the warpath, taking powers away. This is the office of the president. This has been for a very long time the way it is. Public health, right? Boom, 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 boom. Right? I'll give a couple of examples here. President may use the public health service to such extent and in such manner as shall, in their judgment, promote the public interest. Or president may, by the executive order, declare the commission core of the public health service to be a military service. Now, that's back from 1944. President may suspend the operation of provisions regulating the storage, transportation, disposal, procurement, handling, and testing of chemical and biological weapons, including the prohibition on testing such weapons on human subjects from 1969. There's tons of them, right? Land management, all of these things. This is just the red stuff that he has absolutely no oversight on. Military and national defense. Look at all this. Look. Again, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this just because that's not why I'm here. But I do believe that more people should be aware, especially those that are putting the information out there that, oh, Trump's lying again. Trump's lying again. One thing that people don't realize is that Pence, when he was asked, right, because they wanted Pence to argue with him or claim, oh, he's wrong. When you get up on stage like he did, and they said, Vice President Pence, what's your take on Trump and saying that he has vast powers? And the word that Vice President Pence used, right, was plenary, right? Plenary. I think I'm saying it right. Plenary. Now, I don't know if anybody's had a chance to look this up, but I'm going to show you what the definition of plenary is. Yeah, I did mean plenary. Yeah. Plenary, right? Adjective, unqualified, absolute. Unqualified, absolute power. Really stop and think about that. Now, imagine for a moment, just let your brain wander, and imagine if Hillary Clinton or someone like her was in charge of the federal government and had plenary powers right now, unlimited, absolute power. Think about how bad that would be for our country. That was the plan, ladies and gentlemen, in case, you weren't aware. Couple of other articles that I'll touch on real quick, just so you know. This is from The Atlantic, and once you get past all of the anti-Trump rhetoric and everything that goes with it, it's back from January of 2019, and it says, make sure I find where I'm at so I can scroll up to the title for you. It is the alarming scope of the president's emergency powers. From seizing control of the internet to declaring martial law, President Trump may legally do all kinds of extraordinary things. Now, the thing that is very, very interesting, right? There's some good information in here. Don't get me wrong. Again, if you can look past the anti-Trump bias that obviously is there with everything that The Atlantic produces, but there's some good stuff there, some good information. The premise underlying emergency powers is simple. The government's ordinary powers might be insufficient in a crisis, and amending the law to provide greater ones might be too slow and cumbersome. There's a whole lot, right? I did want to point out real quick, The Atlantic, right, ran an article at the beginning of the virus incident, right, where it basically blasted our president for stopping stuff to China. So remember, or, people coming in from China. So remember that the same thing that he's being, hailed for now because he actually did that. But anyway, I want to tell you about, I'm trying to make sure I give you guys all the links that you need in order to see this stuff, because there's some really good information out there. I am actually missing a link that I really wanted to give you. It is from the leader, the head guy at the WHO, praising China, and there's a big statue of Shiva in the middle of the table. I will try to drop that link in here. I don't have it right now. I don't have a way that I can easily access it, so to share it with you, but it's from his Twitter, and it talks about them working together with China to send Chinese doctors all over the world. But I want to tell you about hey Jose, thanks for joining us. God bless you too. Good to see you. Nicaragua, right? If I'm not mistaken, Jose is joining us from Nicaragua. So I am really, really excited about my upcoming guests. Two of them are right here, very close from Hobart. And I said it right. It's Hobart, not Hobart. I don't know if I messed it up before, but maybe I did. I know better. I'm lived here most of my life. I know how to say it. It's Hobart. But anyway, Chris Wells will be on Thursday. He and his wife Sarah will be on the show day after tomorrow, Thursday. And he is the first Republican to get elected to the Hobart City Council in over 10 years, at least. It may be much longer. I'm not sure. He'll be able to tell us more about that, hopefully. But he has accomplished a great deal in his life. He has done a lot. He and his wife, she's going to be on at the beginning of the hour. And for those of you who haven't heard, we're still trying to set up the date. Donald Rainwater, the Libertarian candidate for the governor of Indiana, has agreed to come on the show. And John Westerkamp, I heard back from finally. He is running for Attorney General of the state of Indiana, and he has agreed. We're just trying to set up the exact date. So stay tuned. Big things coming up. So I'm going to talk to you about an idea that I had, and maybe you can help me get the word out. I would like to feature a local small business restaurant during the show every day, right? A different one every day. Whether I'd like it to be, small mom and pop, but any local restaurant, especially those that are struggling right now with the social distancing, with restaurants being forced to either do carry out or delivery only, curbside. I want to hear from them. Send me an email at press@dionbergeron.com or talk@dionbergeron.com. Either one is fine. And let me know that all I need is permission to feature you on the show. I just don't want to run into any legal issues. That's all. I will make it perfectly clear that you are not endorsing me, and I'm not telling people to go out and specifically buy from you versus anyone else. But I would like to provide you an opportunity to tell me what your featured dish is, how much it is, whether you're doing delivery or curbside or carry out. I think it'll be a good thing for local businesses, maybe get an opportunity to, spread your message a little further. It's just what I can do. I try to shop local. I've always tried to buy USA, made in the USA. That's a big thing for me. When I was a kid, man, made in the USA meant something, right? And it could be that because my grandfather, who raised me, he was a veteran in World War II. My other grandfather was a veteran. My step grandfather, he was at Iwo Jima. Made in the USA means something. It always has. It's always been important to me, and I would like to funnel my money. If I'm going to spend money, I want it to go to the United States. I want it to go to local businesses, preferably small businesses. So if you know of anyone that, might be interested, again, I will make it clear that they are not endorsing me. It's just my way of getting the word out. If anyone can kind of let them know this is what I'm doing, I'd appreciate it. I'd like to have, a few going. That way we don't skip any days. I can have, someone every day that I can send a shout out to. That's really all it is a shout out. I just want to avoid any legal issues. Not trying to get hauled into court or anything. I've got enough to worry about with running for Congress without any additional legal challenges. So the other thing that I think is really important for those of you that haven't seen the video from yesterday, maybe didn't get a chance to watch the live stream, you really should look up the video that Trump played for the press at his briefing yesterday. It was as they say. Another thing, one of the things that Trump was talking about today is during the briefing was maybe returning to normal, right? About getting stuff back to normal. And I felt that it was really important. They kind of skipped over it, but one of the things that he said was, we want to get back to normal, to like baseball games, football games, people being able to sit next to each other, not just, every other seat or every third seat. And I'd love to see that. I really would. I want to see these people. There are so many Karens right now. I'm just going to say that. I find it interesting that it's so hard to solve a crime in a major city because no one wants to snitch, right? No one wants to tell people who murdered their neighbor, but they're okay with telling on people who left their home, right? They had a guy that was out with his family in the park and got put in the handcuffs in front of his little girl, right? He actually was a retired state trooper, and he was actually handcuffed because he did the absolutely horrible crime of playing ball with his little girl, with his wife, in a deserted park, right? A deserted park. How mind-blowing is that? Hi, Jackie. Good to see you. Appreciate you joining us. That's insane, isn't it? To think that people have so much time on their hands and are so worried about what other people are doing that they will call the police because you're out playing ball with your child. Seriously? And look, we know they're all not named Karen, but they might as well be, I need to see your manager, right? That's what we're looking at here. We're looking at people with too much time on their hands who are so worried about other people instead of worried about themselves. I posted a thing on my Facebook from an anonymous UPS driver who identified the various people throughout the pandemic. Steve, right? Steve's going to marry, Mary, I think, and repopulate the earth. Please. I mean, because we need people who are just more down to earth and more reasonable than what we have right now. I mean, come on, people. Are you really worried about people? They actually had a post in a page that I follow where Lake County 911. Now, this was weeks ago. Lake County 911 actually put out a Facebook message where they said, please do not call 911 on your neighbors because they left the house. Yes, that is the world we live in today. But yet in major cities, they cannot solve homicides or other things because people don't want to snitch, right? They don't want to tell on someone, but they're perfectly willing to call the police because you might need vegetables or hamburger helper or whatever it is you might need to go to the grocery store, or maybe you just want to walk around the block. I will say in Indiana, in Michigan City, we didn't have it that bad until our off-the-rails mayor decided to sign a executive order that instituted a 10 p.m. curfew. I wish I was kidding. I covered this on a previous video. It's insane. I will say this, with all of the interesting things that have been going on, the overstepping of the federal government. I just thought of this. I'm going to tell you, there's some rumors floating around about Michigan and seeds, right? Seeds and car seats. And I guess there was even a tweet that was sent out and all this other stuff. There is an attorney from Michigan. His name is Leto, right? Lehto. He covered it on a YouTube video. Yeah, he's got a YouTube channel, and he says that it's the EO does not cover that. And if Walmart or another big box store is actually preventing you from buying these things, that's their deal. The governor hasn't instituted that. That said, right, the governor has instituted a ban on unnecessary items. And I've heard people that are having a hard time getting things that are considered non-essentials. Now, my big issue with that is, who is the United States government or the Michigan governor or the Indiana governor or the mayor of Michigan City to tell me what's essential, right? Who are you to tell me what I need, what I can and cannot buy? I had shared a post of the United States Constitution, and it said, "This is my signed permission slip to leave my home." And I had a comment that was like, show me in there where it says that, basically. There was a slight bit of back and forth. He's like, I don't believe that the pursuit of happiness covers that. I said, no, but liberty does, right? Liberty. Again, let's go to the definition of liberty. According to dictionary.com, I'm going to share this with you again. Boom. Liberty, the state of being free within society from oppressive restrictions imposed by authority on one's way of life, behavior, or political views. 2, the power or scope to act as one pleases. Now, if you remember, we are guaranteed life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness by the United States Constitution. So liberty covers that, right? I would think so. That's my interpretation of it. So in what world is it okay for them to institute rules and regulations that directly counteract the pursuit of liberty, the pursuit of happiness, right? Pursuit of happiness, okay, maybe put that to the side. But liberty is absolutely covered. It's absolutely taken into account. And we have and I would argue one of the most important aspects of the Constitution, because we are looking at here. Let's look at that again. The state of being free within society, so not outside society, but within society, from oppressive restrictions imposed by authority on one's way of life, right? So we have a situation where we have a government that is telling us what is and isn't okay to do. And I would argue that flies directly in the face of the Constitution. I think this kind of leads to the thought from before. I think we're going to see a lot more non-affiliated candidates gain a lot more traction, right? Candidates that aren't necessarily Democrat or Republican, but independent or libertarian or even, other third parties. Because we see governors that are allegedly, not just governors, but mayors and stuff like that are allegedly Republicans, that are allegedly constitutionalists, that are wholeheartedly embracing some of these restrictions. Paul, and importantly, not provided by the government, but defended by the Constitution. I agree with that. It's a very important distinction, and it's something that a lot of people don't think about. A lot of people don't know. I don't know if you've seen it, but many seniors in high school fail very, very basic questions when it comes to civics, when it comes to governmental questions, some questions even that immigrants are required to know the answers to. There's a test. I think I might make that tomorrow's live stream. I want to show you the tests that immigrants are given and the stats for the people that have failed this test, that are high school seniors or graduates, high school graduates that don't know how many Supreme Court justices there are, that don't know the power, the three branches of government. And I think that this is what's important. We really need to remember that we have a society right now, especially, where the vast majority of people are educated by the media, right? The fake news media, the lying media. They believe what they're told. And the people that know what's going on, the people that look at the media and go, oh, that's not true. That's not true. Oh, that was cut and clipped. We know this. We look at this, we're like, oh my goodness. But remember, there are so many people still that are sitting in their house and they tune on CNN or MSNBC, and in many cases, even Fox now, and believe the things that come out of the television that they're being told. That's why it's so important, I think, for Trump to really continue to have these briefings, because he's calling attention to things that a lot of people don't realize. Some people don't understand that the media has taken it upon themselves to tell us what we should and shouldn't know. The director of the CIA from, I think it was 81 to 87, said when the American people believe, when everything they believe is a lie, then our job is done. Operation Mockingbird, look it up. These are all things that the average person, unfortunately, believes what's coming out of the television. They believe the mainstream media. They believe the things that have been fed to them over and over. And legitimate, unbiased news agencies are having a hard time gaining any traction. And let's look at the way some citizen journalists are being treated. We have these people that are trying to go out and trying to get actual evidence and actual stories, and because they're not with a national media organization, they're treated as nothing, right? They're barred, they're banned, all of these things. It's really, really sad. I do want to point out, Paul says, get a bottle of mead from Tony at Manic or get a coffee from Scott at JM, he says. Again, I would like to get permission before I say it, but you guys feel free to talk about whatever local places you'd like every day. That's a different story. I'm more than happy to read that out. We have to fight against this, though. We have to fight against the purposeful disinformation of people from the mainstream media. We have to show people that we as a society don't have to believe this stuff. And that's one of the things that I've found is probably the biggest takeaway that I've had from the Q drops and stuff like that is think for yourself, right? It's a sad day, right? When things are being demonized because they teach you to think for yourself. And that's basically what we're looking at here. There are a slew, no shortage of bashy style articles. And of course, anything that they can lump into the conspiracy theory category, they will. And by they, I mean mainstream media or the powers that be or whatever you like. So yeah, our libertarian candidate for District 1, Michael Strauss, says, believe your president, media lies, never believe the media is bad, always believe your government, they never lie. Right. Look, I've seen what government does. Our government as an entity is probably one of the most corrupt institutions on the planet. Our government has lied to us over and over and over. Just prime example, right? The John F. Kennedy assassination. We know that the official narrative is crap. We know based on other documentaries that have come out, based on citizen journalists that have gone and actually looked into the data. I can't think of any names offhand right now for the docs, but there have been many that have been published. There have been many that have been done, and our government lies. 9/11, the official narrative is, I would believe that there's a little meme that shows the Death Star, right, shooting the towers, and it's still more believable than the official narrative. We know, and I am not naive enough to believe every single thing that the government says. I would say that the vast majority of the government, whatever parts you want to talk about, whether it be the executive branch or the legislative or even judicial in many cases, are twisted for whatever political purpose that they can. Yeah, there's a theory for you. Look, we know that until and unless we have a far greater degree of transparency from our government than we currently have, then we're not going to get anything done. And it's one reason why I do these daily live streams with you, so that you can see the kind of person that I actually am. I publish all of my surveys that I do. That's what we have. You know, I try to Vince says, you look like an unsuccessful cult leader. Okay, well, I guess if I'm unsuccessful, then I guess that's something to strive for. That's what we have. You know, I try to reach out to you on a daily basis, talk to you, show you what's going on, a little bit of news, but mainly it's just my chance to talk to you and tell you what's going on with me. I got another survey that I'll be doing. Michael asked me, do you believe Trump and Obama visit the Grove? Which Grove are you talking about, Michael? Are you Chris says, I too have a face for radio. Yeah, look, man, here's the thing. I worked at a maximum security prison for years, Vince Carter 2020. Insults don't bother me. I find them entertaining. If you can't laugh when someone is insulting you or telling you something, then politics is not the right place for you anyway. I have heard things that I had to look up. Vince says, Trump will win versus dementia Biden. Yeah. And my thing is, when it comes to Biden, is number one, why Biden, of all the people that they could have propped up, right, and had run and had win the way that they did, because let's face it, he was incredibly unpopular until people started dropping out and then, you know, throwing their support behind him. Nobody wanted to vote for him. Nobody wanted to pick him. Out of all the people that they could have picked, why Biden? I believe it's because he's so easy to control. The guy has no idea what's going on. He doesn't know what state he's in. He doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, he can't even make it through 5 minutes of teleprompter without messing up. So I do believe, Vince, that you're correct. Trump will win. At least I hope he wins. I'm just going to say that. I do hope he wins. It's going to depend greatly on how much more voter fraud we see, because if you've been paying attention, the Democrats are doing absolutely everything they can to push vote by mail and ballot harvesting. Let me find this article. The Clinton attorney, right? I can't remember the name, but he actually he's suing the state of Nevada over ballot harvesting, right? Let me see if I can bring this up. This is one thing that I wanted to have up, but I didn't get a chance to. Here it is. Good. Let me get this brought up. He is actually suing the state of Nevada, right? Ex-Clinton lawyer threatens to sue Nevada unless ballot harvesting is permitted. And there's tons of them. Again, I'll drop the link in here. The governor of Virginia just announced that he signed into law a measure to allow people to vote without ID. There is so much going on right now with the ballot harvesting and the vote by mail and all of that. They're desperate. They are absolutely desperate, because I believe that they're seeing that the support for Trump, it hasn't gone down. If anything, it's gotten more, because people are actually just able to see him directly address them without the press twisting his words, just him talking directly to the people. By Bohemian Grove, of course, the Grove of all groves. I don't know, man. I will tell you that whole thing with Alex Jones, I don't believe anything that guy says. He is, I believe, paid opposition. His parents were I heard CIA. I don't know if that's true. The guy he's out there, man. Zingerman says, when is Keith going to be on next? We're talking about that now. Apparently Keith, he's having a couple of issues right now. So we're trying to find out when he was going to be available. He had wanted to come on Thursday, but Chris Wells is going to be on Thursday. So I am working on it. We are in communication. We're trying to make sure that he can get all the documents uploaded, because I want to be much better prepared next time. I want to be able to go through step by step and show you what we're looking at. Let's see. Michael says no one should have to ID to vote. That is fake security. Look, man, you should have to prove that you are a citizen in order to vote. And if that is via voter ID, if that is via driver's license, look, man, if you don't even have a driver's license, how are you able to prove that you're not here illegally? That's my big issue. I believe wholeheartedly in voter ID. You need ID for everything, you need it for services. You need it for other things. Paul points out it's a slippery topic. It is. The argument can be made, I guess, that, it might be seen as a degree of voter suppression, but I disagree, because here's the thing. At least a valid driver's license or state ID that matches up with your voter registration. I don't see that as too much. You need ID for everything in this country. You need ID to buy a plane ticket, to buy cigarettes, to buy alcohol. You need ID for everything. Why shouldn't you have it to cast a vote? I think that's something we should all have. There are many states, Indiana is one of them, that will actually help you obtain your ID financially, that will pay for it for you. And that's the big holdup for requiring it, is, so, what's the issue here? Let's see. Oh, hey, good to see you. It says, well, I'm disabled, so I only have a passport. I can't drive. I think a passport's okay. It's a form of identification. Let's see. ID is a violation of privacy. A real secure voting system can be had without ID that shows who you are. Okay. I'm open to that. I'm telling you, I am open to a secure system of voting, not necessarily one that requires identification, but under the current, system that we have right now, secure voting requires identification of some sort in order to make sure that you are who you say you are. One of the big things from this article that I had linked before, let me get to it. One of the things is where he says that he also wants to allow people to, where's it at? He essentially, Elias, when he's suing the state, right, he wants them to be able to have any signature on it whatsoever. That they don't want people checking the signatures. It's in here. I'm not sure if it's let's see here. It was in one of these articles here about it. I'm looking for it because I do want to show you. Here it is. Yep. Okay. Let me share this real quick. It's right here. Top line, at the same time, Elias called for Nevada to stop throwing out ballots when signatures on voters' ballots appear differently from those on voters' registrations, saying lay election officials have never had the necessary expertise to make an accurate determination. So not only does he want ballot harvesting, not only does he want mail-in ballots, but he also wants it to where anyone can sign it, right? Now, if you don't see the capacity for fraud there, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, because we have some serious problems with our current voting methods. I will say that we do need to really look at a good way to make a secure, safe voting apparatus and still be able to vote and make sure that our people are the people that are actually citizens are voting, that it isn't, someone from somewhere else or even from another district. Here's the thing. I'm not necessarily talking about, people who are here illegally, but people who vote more than once, people who are voting in an area where they shouldn't be, stuff like that. So Zingerman said COVID equals certificate of vaccination ID. I saw that too. I do find it very, very interesting because with Gates pushing the whole ID 2020 thing with the digital tattoo and the proof of vaccination, I think I'll cover that. I'll cover that tomorrow, and we can talk more about that. Michael says you can still remain private and still have secure voting. Right. There's ways, I believe, but it's a conversation we need to have. Now, completely opening up mail-in ballots and getting rid of signature verification is not the way to do that. That's making it less secure, not more. We need secure voting in one way, shape, or form, right? My opinion. Paul says, speaking of voting, Holcomb is going to have Lawson on his afternoon speech near future to talk about our state's plan for voting among Hoosiers. Toad Young was on today. Yeah, I mean, there are definitely conversations that we can have about what we can do to make sure our voting is safe, secure. Michael says, vote fast and frequent. Yeah, and that's the problem, is we have people that are voting more than once. We have people that are voting in places that they don't even live in. That's my concern. That's where the issue comes in for me. I am all about everyone that should vote being able to vote. That's one of the fundamental principles of our republic, and it's one of the things that I hold near and dear to my heart. It's one of the few freedoms that we really have left that we can practice. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see more of that. I think that we can have ways to do that don't necessarily infringe, right, on the kind of rights that people are talking about here. But security is a necessity. It really is. Zingerman says Bill Gates equals Gates in Revelations. I would not put it past it. Bill Gates, I use the hashtag Gates of Hell because the man. What's really sad is when I was young, I used to idolize him. The computer geek, made billionaire that was, the founder of Microsoft and all that. And the more I look into the stuff that this guy is involved in and the things that he's done, he actually caused irreparable harm to many small children in Africa with his vaccine pushes, not just recently, but in the back. Let's see here. Michael says, I have a system that only allows a person to vote once, and without ID, that gives away who you are and secured your vote so it is counted accurately. Okay. Are you talking about blockchain technology, or is this something else, Michael? Be interested to talk about that. Again, I'm all for secure voting if it's secure, if it's an actual, registration. That is one thing that I find interesting about Indiana is, so they track who you vote for, right? Obviously, but a little different way than you think. So in order to vote in the primary, you choose your party, right? You choose, I'm going to vote in the Democratic primary. Then you're a registered Democrat. If you vote in the Republican party, the primary, then you're a registered Republican. So the only way you can vote is by declaring that party in the primary. Now, in the general, you can vote for whomever, and then, it is what it is. And allegedly, the people that can review that don't have access to your general voting record, but they do your primary voting record, which I have personally seen with the RNC voter data that we have. It tells who you voted for in the primaries. It's actually interesting, and everyone should know that the DNC chairwoman actually hired CrowdStrike to do security for the Republican voter data, which is not even remotely good. People who don't know who that is, you really should look it up. Michael says it encompasses blockchain, but it's more than just blockchain. Okay. Do you have a link to something that I could check out later? I'd be interested in reviewing it. We need to do something because our current system is ripe for abuse, right? Can we agree? We have issues with people, look at Wisconsin, right? We have thousands of ballots, right, that were found in Wisconsin recently. I posted a link to it on my Facebook and my Twitter. They found thousands and thousands of ballots sitting at the post office, many of which were not even postmarked. Now the Supreme Court said no. Chris says that's why a lot of us registered as Democrats in 2008 to vote for Hillary. Project Chaos. Yeah. And you know what? I've heard that a number of people for the upcoming District 1 primary, I'll just tell you, there's a movement, anyone but McDermott. They are planning to make sure that McDermott does not get that primary seat, because my understanding is if he wins the primary, then he's no longer mayor, right, of Hammond. If he loses the primary, then he stays as mayor. Let's see. Michael says, it's a complete system I've developed from registration all the way to your vote being counted. Okay. Again, I'm interested. I'd like to learn more. We'll talk. It sounds interesting. I'm not opposed to something that is definitively secure and definitively allows people to vote. That's really important. It's something that we need. But the way we have it set up right now, you need ID. You need ID, or we can't prove that you are who you say you are. And it's something that has been abused over and over and over. So unfortunately, that's where I stand. And secure voting is what I'm really about. Not necessarily having to show an identification or something. Let's see here. Lisa Mariucci says, yesterday's press conference was an unreal display of a totally unfit pseudo leader. Okay. To each their own. That's your opinion. I can understand that. I disagree. I think it was a good opportunity for people to see what is really going on with the press, but fair enough. Paul says, what about ABS count? What is ABS count? I'm not familiar with ABS count, so I don't know. But if you want to tell me, by all means, let me know. So, yeah, that's where we're at. Michael says there won't be a need for ABS voting. Paul, let's see where this goes. I won't wait too much longer. So back to Lisa's comment. Oh, absentee. Okay. All right. Fair enough. And yeah, that was my thought too. Chris said anti-lock brakes. That was my thought when I saw ABS. I'm like, that can't possibly be what he means. It's the little light, that comes on. Yeah, I get it now. Absentee voters. Okay. So there won't be a need for absentee voting, I'm assuming, because there will be some way to track how you vote, and you can vote at any time or remotely. You'll be able to vote remotely is what I'm guessing, right? If that's what kind of the whole blockchain thing is. Okay. Lisa said narcissist. You are? I'm sorry. That must be difficult. No, I'm just kidding. Look, it is possible. I'm not saying that Trump is not this or that. I will say that I am very glad that he's the one leading the nation right now, as opposed to some of the other options that are out there. I don't think the man's perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I do believe that the press have been very, very unfair to him. I believe that the press has, she says seriously. Yes, seriously. I think that the press has gone out of their way from day one. If you look at the coverage of Donald Trump from 2016, right, go back, right, prior to when he announced that he was running, if you go back to the way that the press treated him before then, and you look at the way the coverage flipped, especially once he became a serious threat, because it's been proven that Hillary Clinton used the Pied Piper strategy because she was absolutely sure that she would be able to defeat Donald Trump. So, okay, well then I won't bother trying. See, that's part of look, I get it. Lisa says, sorry, there's not a thing you could say that would convince me he's the right guy. Fair enough. And I think that it's unfortunate that you have such a closed mind, but America is great in that way. We're all allowed to have our own opinions. I do recommend, though, look, you don't have to believe he's the right guy, but I will say that you should go and really do a deep dive as to how unfairly the press has treated him. The vast amount of negative coverage on him is mind-blowing. 90% plus negative coverage. You have remember too, Lisa, that the mainstream media is controlled by 5 corporations, right? Just remember that all of these companies, you can find charts out there. It's may even be less now. I know that it was 5. There are only 5 companies that control over 90% of what you see, read, and watch. Now, if that doesn't bother you, then I think you should reevaluate things, because we don't have a free press anymore. We don't have an unbiased national level press that shows us the truth. We have talking points. We have people that tell us what they feel, right? Look at CNN. If you can't see the bias on CNN, at least, let's just flip it, right? Let's look at Fox, especially before they put Paul Ryan on the board, right? Fox was very right. They showed us things from the right perspective, as in right hand, not correct. You can see the bias there. CNN, MSNBC, all of these are on the left. Unfortunately, we have a real problem with unbiased press. Paul says Disney reports on both sides of the aisle. Right, Disney owns it all. Not all, but they own a vast amount. Lisa says the one with a closed mind is Trump himself. In a lot of ways, I will give you that. In a lot of ways, there are certain things that Trump says that he's unwilling to budge on. However, if you look at kind of some of the main areas, right? Let's look at this most recent pandemic. He actually always listens to the medical experts. The experts themselves say that although he may not agree with them, he will listen to what they have to say, and he will implement the things that they can give. They say, for example, Fauci. I'm not a big fan of Fauci for a lot of reasons, but when Fauci has gone on record and said that Trump listens, right? He doesn't do the opposite of what Fauci wants. He won't go against him. He will implement the things that Fauci recommends if there's a scientific reason for doing so. So I disagree. In that aspect, at least, in many aspects, Trump has shown that he does have an open mind. For example, when he first ran, there were certain things that he was categorically for that he was able to be convinced that, no, that's not correct. There were things that he was against that he was able to be convinced, well, maybe I should do that. He, I think, does a good job of looking at all of the evidence, the real evidence, not the evidence that the mainstream media feeds us. Unplug from the mainstream media for a bit. Get on the internet, look into the reality of the situation, look into things that there are countless examples of the media skewing, twisting, taking tiny portions. The protests, right? The statues in Charleston, that whole thing was manipulated. The entire situation, they took and cut tiny little pieces of what Trump said instead of providing the whole thing. That's just one tiny example of the unfair bias that the media has had against him since day one. I think more and more going forward, you're going to see this bias come out. So yeah, Paul says, supposedly we're going to defund our portion of WHO. I don't know when, though. I hope so. Yes. And let me go back up here. Yeah, Chris said not a deep dive on CNN because you're not going to learn anything except, Orange Man bad, like Chris says. Let's see here. Enterprise says Trump will be elected. Yes, I believe that he will. I hope that he will, because the alternative, at this point, look, the alternative to Donald Trump is Joe Biden, a history of touching little kids in inappropriate ways that made them extremely uncomfortable. That alone, there's plenty of video evidence of. I can't get into that. But yes, Paul, that is my understanding as well. We have been told that Trump is allegedly going to pull the funding very soon. And he's going, I covered that at the beginning of the video. He's going to run a series of investigations on the WHO in order to see where their true loyalties lie. That's all right. Paul says, mentioned it earlier, is pending treatment. So no problem, no worries. Here we are at the hour mark. I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you to everyone who showed up. I appreciate it. I appreciate all comments and opinions. Look, the bottom line is there are going to be people who disagree with Trump, with me, with everyone. We can't have what we have right now, which is the supreme bipartisanship where people can't even have a discussion. So I welcome dissenting opinions. I welcome those who talk about, things. Michael says, if we're still on for Friday, we can talk a little bit about the voting system. Yes, I forgot to mention. Michael is supposed to come on the show Friday. If that's still good, I am going to get that pushed out. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it'll be a good time. Again, he is our libertarian candidate for District 1. He and I are not necessarily competing right now. Right now, I'm running against the other Republicans for the primary, but post-primary, he will be one of my opponents for District 1. So it should be interesting, right? So again, thank you all for joining me. God bless you, and God bless the USA.
If you'd like to support the show, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Dion's Daily Dose. This has been Dion's Daily Dose, hosted by Dion Bergeron. Executive producers, Sean Holgram and Michael Beebe. Copyright 2020. Dion's Daily Dose, all rights reserved.